1 second, folks, to get us back here. I think we're back now. I'm going to be sure that we're good on YouTube as well. Here we are. I think we're back, folks. Let's wait to make sure we get a couple of comments in here that people can see that we're live again.
Okay, I'll check my Facebook here.
Been playing around with my new server and had to make some changes, but I think we're good. So we're looking at... Hey, YouTube is great. Perfect. Okay. Hello, Trudy, Daniel. Thanks
Andrew.
very much. And let's make sure we're good on Facebook. All good to go. Hey, great. Good to hear.
Great.
Whew. We're trying out a new server tonight, folks, and it's actually simulcasting for me. So this allows me to send one signal out, which is hopefully very soon going to alleviate a lot of my issues with staying live on both streams and keeping things nice and solid. So this is the test go tonight. We'll see how it goes, and let's hope everything stays well. And welcome everybody back to the page. And good evening, everybody, and welcome back to our Sunday night offering of Astronomy Outreach, the Sunday Night Astronomy Show. First of all, I'd like to welcome back Mr. Paul Owen. Paul,
hello again.
Hello again. From the Moon Shadow Observatory in Hampton. And easy to click on Paul this week because it's only one person, so that makes it a lot easier. But we do miss you, Mike. Mike Powell's out there right now. He's unable to join us this evening due to some work commitments, but he'll be back with us next week. Tonight we're going to start off a little bit about with our normal talk about what's up in space this week, and then Paul's going to provide us with some information and discussion he is calling Beginner's Astrophotography with just a DSLR. It should be a great presentation, and then we're going to take a short break in Paul's segment to give him a chance to catch his breath and introduce your wonderful photo submissions. And then at the end of Paul's talk, we'll have our other segments, our Rosanna's Fun Facts segment, and also a quick look at our night sky treasures for the coming week. So another pretty full show on the way. So sit back and enjoy, folks. And remember, this is a live broadcast. So if you have any questions about the night sky, we're happy to try and answer them here for you. So let's make sure that our volume's all good on Facebook, and somebody could comment on that for us. And
Peter Bissima said yes, things that were good on both.
Great, good to hear. Okay, yep. Wow. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Let's hope it stays that way. Eh?
Yeah, let's hope, yeah. Okay, so I don't have to share my screen, do I? Yes, I do. I'll be sharing my screen here to get us started. And I'll go with this one. And I can come over here to my
the vortex.
The vortex, yeah. Let's get started here. And I'm going to open it with photos. There, I think we're good.
That's our buddy.
That's our buddy. What's new in space this week? Well, SpaceX is manufacturing its Starlink satellites at an unprecedented rate for the space industry, analysts say, as the company dives headlong into building a space-based global internet service. Elon Musk's company told the Federal Communications Commission in a presentation last month that its Starlink unit is now building 120 satellites per month and has invested over $70 million developing and producing thousands of consumer user terminals per month. Starlink, of course, is SpaceX's ambitious plan to build an interconnected network of over 12,000 small satellites to beam high-speed internet from orbit to anywhere in the world. The company has so far launched nearly 600 Starlink satellites and is currently building a system of ground stations. Where am I at? Oh, yeah. Currently building a system of ground stations and its user terminals to connect consumers directly to its network. Right now, it seems the primary bottleneck for Starlink's service lies in how quickly SpaceX can launch the satellites. The company has been launching Starlink missions about once per month with its Falcon 9 rocket fleet. Well, at 60 satellites per Falcon 9, SpaceX is also driven to bring its Starship launch vehicle online as soon as it can, as the company says each will be able to carry up to 400 Starlink satellites at a time. So be prepared for much larger numbers of Starlinks very soon. Oh. Yay. Start out on a good note.
Boo.
Boo. Well, the International Space Station hits 20 years of continuous human habitation this fall, and NASA aims to make the most of the years the orbiting lab has left. The astronaut complex is in great shape, agency officials have stressed, and it just received a set of battery upgrades to keep it going for a while. Well, within months, operational commercial crews will expand the station's capacity for research as more astronauts per spacecraft pour into the facility. The Trump administration and NASA are also ramping up efforts to fly private astronauts and add private modules to the ISS. Such discussions about the future of the ISS come as NASA plans an ambitious agenda in space in the coming years. NASA will celebrate the 20th anniversary of a continuous human presence on the space station on November the 2nd, marking 2 decades since Expedition 1 began on a much smaller version of the ISS. For the future, NASA is working to land astronauts on the moon again in 2024, with the help of commercial spacecraft funded through the Commercial Lunar Service Program. The agency also plans, outside the critical path of moon landings, to build a small space station near the moon called Gateway. Gateway has already attracted some international partners, such as Canada's commitment to provide a Canadarm3 robotic arm. Cool. Well, at least we're part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in the depths of Venus's hellish atmosphere, layers of mysterious haze could be home to life, a new study finds. Venus is the hottest planet in the solar system, a broiling world where temperature can reach 465 degrees Celsius, more than hot enough to melt lead. And the scorching heat causes any water on the surface of Venus to boil away, leaving the rock extraordinarily dry. Well, previous research has suggested that Venus might once have been a habitable desert world as recently as 1 billion years ago. But over time, escalating temperatures caused steam to build up in the atmosphere of Venus, which trapped heat that vaporized still more water, leading to a runaway greenhouse effect that boiled away all the oceans on the planet. Nowadays, the Venusian atmosphere is about 50 times as arid as the driest place on Earth. If any life on Venus survived this runaway greenhouse effect, it is possible haven for it may be in the planet's clouds, a region spanning from about 48 to 60 kilometers in altitude, according to the new research. Prior work found that below the lowest clouds of Venus at altitudes of 47 to 33 kilometers is a layer of mysterious haze. Scientists don't know what particles make up the haze, just that they measure between 0.4 and 4 microns wide. In comparison, the average human hair is about 100 microns wide. The researchers suggested that Venusian microbes could fall into this haze layer and stay there, suspended in the air, just as similarly sized haze particles have. In order to survive the heat of the lower atmosphere, the microbes would have to go dormant, then becoming inactive, desiccated spores that could better resist their hazardous surroundings. If just 1% of 1,000th of the mass of Venus's lower haze layer is dried spores, there could be as much as 5,500 tons of microbes there. Of course, more research is certainly needed at this point. And finally, from Mike Powell. Mike Powell sent this one in for me, so.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, isn't that nice? Here we go.
All right.
On Earth, farts, yes, farts,
Yes, that's from Mike.
are typically no big deal. Smelly, harmless, and they quickly dissipate. But if you're an astronaut, every fart is a ticking time bomb. The gases in farts are flammable, which can quickly become a problem inside a tiny pressurized capsule in the middle of space where your fart gases have nowhere to go. In a study in the late 1960s, scientists subjected a then state-of-the-art space diet compared with a bland formula. They discovered that the space diet actually produced more gas than the control diet, and noted that, quote, volumes would be larger at reduced spacecraft and suit pressures.
That guy in the back, I know what he's doing. He's got the one leg going.
Yeah. One group of 6 men ate a Gemini-type diet, and type S, and another received a bland formula, type F, for 42 days. Breath and rectal gases were analyzed during the first and the final weeks. Well, flatulent gases varied widely within the dietary groups, but much more gas was generated with diet S than with diet F. This explains why astronaut food doesn't include freeze-dried beans. And that's our What's Up in Space this week.
Oh, that's hilarious, Mike.
Yes, thank you, Mike.
Smell you later.
Smell you later, yeah.
Oh,
Well.
that's great.
Anyway, gotta end on a laugh. Always end on a laugh. So from here, we're going to let Paul take it away, I think, and Paul's going to lead us into a discussion on what to observe, how to shoot the night sky.
Yeah. Okay.
Paul, I'll get you to share your screen. I'm going to keep an eye on comments here on both Facebook and YouTube if I can.
You can just click. Am I on now? Are you clicking on me, or is it still you?
Here, I'm clicking on you there. Now you are. Here we go.
Am I there?
You're there.
I'm there. Well, that was great discussion. I like those good discussions, the stuff that really matter.
Yeah, it does. It always does. Well, that kind of stuff would matter to you if you were inside a spacesuit, would it not?
Well, space is full of gas.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we take pictures of all the time. So hey, we are from the star.
It all adds up. All right.
Okay. Well, anyway, okay. So tonight I'm going to talk about using one of these that everybody or most people have by now. And basically it's just a DSLR, which is just a digital single reflex camera is all it is. And like I say, most people have these pretty much in their houses or they know somebody who has one. And they make an absolutely wonderful thing to use to take pictures of the night sky in many different facets, whether it be moon, which is what we're going to talk about tonight. You can do constellations, you can do Milky Way, you can actually do deep space with this, just with a lens. You don't have to have a telescope to do that. So there's all kinds of things you can do with a DSLR. The big thing is that so long as your camera has manual settings on it, and you have the ability to interchange lenses. So long as you can do those things, then just one sec here. Sorry about that. There we are. So long as you can do those things, and have got those things rather, then you can be able to do a really good, a lot of different things on the night sky imaging with these tools. So rather than showing you this stuff in my hand tonight, Ned, I've actually prepared a little PowerPoint presentation, which I'll show you. And we'll kind of go through the the do's, what you do, and the things you'll need to know, some of the apps that you'll want to use to do your planning. And then if you don't have a camera and you were planning on buying one anyway, maybe, we'll talk about the kind of lenses that would be best for whatever it is that you're trying to shoot. So I'm going to switch over to that presentation, or I'm going to try to anyway. So I'm just going to share my screen, which should be this one. And I'm going into Oblivia just for a moment until I hit this slide.
Ooh.
Okay. All right. So there. So the magical moon. Now, sorry about that. That slide has always slipped down. I don't know why, but anyway, so the magical moon, and basically what that is why would we want to shoot the moon? I'll put that up there. Maybe see if I can find. This is a new program for me, so if I fumble it a little bit, please forgive me. So why the moon? Astronomy-based lunar programs can be cataloged for certificates. Approximately 21 opportunities every month. So you get all kinds of time to practice on the moon. And two types of lunar photography. There's the lunar object only, if you just want to shoot just the moon, whether it be close up or just by itself coming up, or using a landscape element. In other words, having something in the foreground, maybe underneath some trees. A lot of our people that watch the page here send all kinds of photos in like that. And who doesn't like a great moon picture, really? So, for example, taking a picture of a nice full moon behind some trees, which I've seen, a lot of people submitting photos for. That's always fun, and they're always so beautiful to look at. And no matter how many times you see that and how many different ways that you see that, it's always so pleasant to look at because there's just something magical and mystical about that moon. So whether it's coming up behind trees, which I do a lot of, and sometimes you get nice clouds in front of the moon. Sometimes you don't. Everything that you can use in as long as you can see the moon itself makes for an absolutely interesting thing to look at. Also, the things that you can do that get in front of the moon besides trees is the Earth, us. When we get in front of the moon, or this is actually in front of the sun, actually the moon gets in front of the sun from our perspective. This is a partial lunar eclipse, which was taken with a DSLR and a lens on a tripod. And as that moon was passing between us and the Earth, it creates, of course, what we call an eclipse. This being a partial one, which is this is how much in total that we're able to cover the sun. But when it does that, it makes again for an absolutely interesting thing. Even though the moon isn't the main thing in this photograph, it's certainly an important thing in the photograph. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just the moon all the time. Again, a nice moonlit sky like this. Somebody said, "Oh, you know, the only thing missing from that photograph is that little kid in the bicycle and ET going across the screen." And he actually sent me one. He photoshopped one in. It was kind of cool. But again, a nice full moon rising behind a tree. It's absolutely beautiful. And on the other side of the coin, a lot of people are pretty good with computers. So this here is as a composite, whereas actually what I took a picture of, that's here in Hampton near the town information center. And it's always got that gorgeous blue to orangey sky. That's Mike and I's favorite part of the night sky. And I was actually shooting Venus because that's actually facing west. But I thought, wouldn't it be neat to throw a moon in there? So I threw a larger than life moon in there, and which a lot of people do. And you know, if you're not scientific, they look like a lot of fun. And you have the artistic ability and the right to do whatever you want anyway. Nobody's judging. This is all about having fun. And also, you can take shots like this. An interesting thing, there's a nice bridge out here in Bloomfield, and there was a car going through it, which just looked like streaks of light, which was kind of nice, and a nice full moon rising in behind. So again, depending on what you want to do with your shot, all that kind of stuff, there's a lot of things you can do with the moon. So what we're going to cover here is is way to snap some pictures, how to plan for different phases, when to go out, what equipment is needed, what camera settings, connecting the cameras, and 5 steps to prepare. I'm going to try to do as much of this as I can tonight, but we may have to break this up over a couple of nights, which would be absolutely fine. So so we'll just go along as far as we can tonight with this. So there are many ways to acquire moonshots. And this was actually a night we were down at the beach down at St. Tristan. It was me, Mike, and Chris. And I don't know why Chris has props in his van. I don't know what he does besides astronomy. I'm not asking.
Don't ask. They'll be coming out again. Full moon's coming around again, so be prepared.
But he had a picture frame and he had a paintbrush. He had it all. And anyway, so we were just out there, and oh, isn't that cool? I said, so Mike held up the frame, Chris held up the brush, and I took the picture and took it home and just kind of colored the picture so it looks like he just painted the picture. Everything else in black and white. So again, just being creative is so many things that you can do with a moonrise. It just makes it so much fun. So there's different types of ways you can get moonshots. There's digiscoping. We've already covered this one lots. And so basically hooking up your cell phone to a rig on a telescope. You can do it with binoculars. You can do it with pointer or spotter scopes. And you can do it with eyepieces on regular telescopes. But you can also, and which is what we're going to talk about mostly tonight, is use a DSLR and a camera. Now this one's an extreme telephoto lens. Most of us aren't using that kind of a lens, but this is just for effect, I guess, more than anything. And of course, after that, you can also do prime focus photography, which is using your camera right through a telescope. So those things are all kind of out there that we can do. So moon imaging using a camera lens and a tripod is a great way to capture some great images. So the advantage, of course, is portability and accessibility, because it's like the telescope thing. The more you use the easier it is to use your telescope, the more you're going to use it. And that's the nice thing about doing this kind of photography, because you can put it in your little pouch or even in the back seat of your car, and off you go. You got it in a little bag. You can walk up the top of a hill if you find a spot you want to take a picture of a moon, and you can do it. There's virtually no effort other than setting it up, pushing the button, taking the picture, and going home, really. And you can put it together in a backpack and a light tripod and just basically go anywhere, really. So moon imaging. So using a camera lens tripod is a great way to get some captures, and just what we just basically talked about there. The big thing now is planning for our outing. So what we mean by planning is don't it's a lot of people will say, okay, you know what, I'm going to go out and take a picture of something tonight, and they go out and they drive, they try to find a place. They don't even know what's up in the sky, because they haven't thought about, well, what phase is it? What date is it? When's the full moon? Is it just a quarter moon tonight? Maybe it's a new moon. Maybe there's no moon in the sky at all. Is the moon up every night? I don't know. Where am I going to shoot this? What part of the sky does the moon come from? So these things you really kind of want to consider in your planning to create your outing. So let's start with that. Let's start with the planning. So you want to find out the phase and pick the right date. So start out by finding out when and where the moon will be visible in the night sky, and also how much of it will be lit by the sun. Of course, these are the phases. You can readily find plenty of information about the times, positions of the moon's ascension and descent, along with its phases, on many free apps. And I'm just going to do just a very quick screenshot of a few of the apps that you can use. So, of course, there's Stellarium, this free. Skyview, another free app. Sun Surveyor, which is a really cool app where you can actually go in, punch in using a satellite system where it is you think you want to be. If I want to be in downtown Toronto, right by the CN Tower, I can put myself there, and then I can see exactly where the moon is going to be in the relation to that. So when I go there, I know exactly where to go. So it's kind of it's not complicated. It's just in depth, but it's quite simple to navigate. Anyway, that's another one. That one costs $10. Also, there's one you can use which will just lay out for the whole month all your moon phases, which is www.moonconnection.com. And this one, of course, is back from 1999. But you just type that in, push in the current time, and then you'll know exactly on these dates, what phase the moon's going to be at. So let's say, for example, I want to do a full moon rise. Then I know on the weekend of the 24th and the 25th, going backwards, of course, into 1999, I'm going to get almost a full moon on the 24th and the true full moon on the 25th. So I've got two opportunities to get some really cool full moon rises then. And of course, everybody's favorite, Stellarium. And you can get that for your computer, which is a free download. You can also get a free download for your cell phone. I have one on mine. So if you happen to be out somewhere and you're curious about something, you have it right on your cell phone. So those are very nice things to do. So let's talk a little bit about landscape wide-angle photography. So what I mean by landscape or wide-angle photography for moons or sun would be moon rises, moonsets, conjunctions. Conjunctions, of course, being like what we're seeing now, is we're having some close relation between Jupiter and Saturn and the moon. And the other night we had Saturn, Jupiter, the moon, and the teapot in Sagittarius all up in one spot. And so that's a conjunction. So you can do that with your DSLR, various moon phases, of course, new moon, first quarter, and so on and so forth. Sunsets, sunrises, exactly the same thing. So when you're done looking at one, you just turn your camera the other way. If you ever go down to St. Tress Beach, where Mike and Chris tend to hang out, during a full moon, you can watch the moonset, or watch the moon rise in the east and watch the sunset in the west. So you get there early, get the beautiful sunset shots. When you're done with that, just turn your camera the opposite way. So that's a very, very cool thing about shooting full moon. And of course, cityscape. So if you're in any city and you want to get a moon over a city, you can do that. So that's what we consider landscape wide angle shots. So we're talking about moon rises and full moon. So I want to just kind of walk you through a session that I did, just to kind of let you know what my thought processes were, what was happening for me when I did this particular full moon shot I'm going to show you. And I'll show you the phases of it. So the first thing I did is I went out to a spot that I thought would be a great spot to get a nice moonrise. What you're looking at here is the Guthrie Road in Bloomfield, for those people who are in my geographical area. And it's out in the country. It's a road that rises very, very, very high. So when you get almost to the top of that road, there's actually a very, very wide open space that you can look over this view that you're seeing here. And what you're looking at here is a place called Bloomfield, New Brunswick. And that overlooks a river between that greenhouse roof and then what's way over on the other side. And that happens to be pointing east. So I thought that would be an awesome spot to catch a full moon coming up, because not only do I have the wide swath of the sky, should I choose to zoom in on something, well, then I can get a really, really cool foreground. I can get a nice moon just breaking the horizon, and then I can go ahead and do my full moon from there. So this was my idea. So I looked at this. So the first thing I did is I went to Stellarium, and I wanted to find out, first of all, what time is the moon going to rise, so that I knew when to get here, so I could get here 15, 20 minutes before that happened. So that gave me time to set up my camera, make sure everything was all working just great, get my camera in place, do a couple of test shots over the horizon, make sure that I'm relatively in focus, do all that stuff before it gets dark, or if it is dark, you have your car with you and the lights are on anyway, and do all that stuff before the moon comes up, so I'm not struggling, missing my shots that I came on that drive to get, right? So plan all that stuff out so you can find out when it's coming up, what phase it is. So I knew all that stuff before I went. I just went here in the daytime to take that shot, just to have a look at it when I brought it home on my screen and see, where I thought that the moon was going to come up based on what the software told me. So, so this is kind of the first shot that I was getting as the moon was coming up. So you can see I've zoomed in a little bit here, and we'll talk a little bit about zooming in, and I'll pan all that kind of stuff after. But so I zoomed in here and I thought, okay, this is great. So now I've got an absolutely wonderful setting. I've got the foreground that I wanted. I've got a nice little village with snow on the ground and a couple of little houses lit up with the nice little orange lights and stuff that you see at nighttime when it's just starting to get into nightfall. And the moon peeking its head up just over the top of that hill. And I thought, that's fantastic. So while I was there, of course, the moon, because it's when you're doing these moonrise shots, you're getting a lot of refracted light. So the moon is going to be very, very interesting colors when it comes up. If you're over top of the ocean, lots of times it's more red. I find when I'm out in the off water and more out on land, it tends to be more yellow. And so you can keep that in mind whenever you're shooting in those areas. But in any event, this is what I got. So then that was the first shot that I took that I thought, this is what came out of that particular shoot. And the second one, which is the one I liked probably better, was this one here. So I got that same shot cropped a little differently so I could get more of the village down below and the actual full moon. So it's actually broke the horizon, and now I've got my nice full shot of that harvest moon rising over Bloomfield Ridge. So that's kind of what went into my head for the planning part of it. And all I had was a camera and a lens and an intervalometer or remote shutter, which if you don't have, you can use your timer on your camera because you don't want to push the button and make your camera shake. So what do I need? And stop me anytime, Chris, if there's questions there. If somebody's
actually, we did have a couple of questions, Paul.
Okay, yeah, I'll stop. Okay. Let's answer some questions.
There was somebody here asked, would this transfer to the new mirrorless cameras? I'm not sure what the comment is referring to.
Mm-hmm. Will it transfer to the mirrorless? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, with a mirrorless camera, one of the advantages of going mirrorless is that whatever you see in your live view screen is exactly what you're going to get on your picture. Because with a mirrorless camera, there's no mirror in there, so it goes right directly to sensor. So you're actually looking at what the sensor sees, not what you're seeing through a little glass window. So that's a huge advantage for mirrorless. Excuse me. The second, of course, thing is with mirrorless cameras, at least the ones of late, They're very, very clean because when you're shooting this, even though the moon's bright, the landscape is dark, and you can run into a fair amount of noise depending on the phase of the moon that you're shooting. And a lot of the mirrorless cameras stuff that I've seen, they're super clean, especially the Sony's, really, really nice. So yeah, so you can use these principles with a mirrorless camera.
Okay, and there was one other comment here. Can you do a talk on common photo editing tools to enhance pictures of the night moon? I guess, or night/moon. We'll be doing that
Yes.
later in the episode or in future episodes probably.
Yeah, I've got a plan to do this kind of stuff, and then I'm going to have a plan on, pardon me, how to pre-post or pre-post your images. Do some stuff, and how do you, if you're going to take, say, some Milky Way stuff, how do I, say, put my 15 shots that I took together in pre, and then we'll talk about different programs that are out there, softwares, and most people are using Photoshop or Lightroom or something like that. Right. And I'll actually do some workshop live stuff on how to use that software as well.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah.
That's it. Okay, good. All right. So what do I need to do that kind of photography? Well, basically, what we need is the things that you see on the screen. So the first thing we're going to need is we're going to need a camera. And the requirements that the camera has to have, whether it be mirrorless or DSLR, is it needs to be manual focus. It has to have remote capability. Actually, I'll show you that slide because that way you can take a picture of it as I'm talking about it. So you have to have adjustment, over ISO, shutter speed, and aperture, and which most cameras do, and preferably a camera with interchangeable lenses. You can use zoom lenses to a certain extent, but if you're using prime lenses, and what I mean by that are lenses that don't zoom, they just have a fixed focal length. They tend to give you cleaner images, and at the same time, you can get some really, really great value because they're a lot cheaper to buy because there's not as much mechanics and stuff in them. And they tend to, you can get some really, really wide aperture, some very sensitive light lenses that way. So, and you want live view on your camera so that you can make sure that that you can see what you're shooting is actually in focus. Also, you're going to need a solid tripod. If you can get a ball head, that's great when you're doing deep sky stuff or constellations or stuff. You got to kind of manipulate the movement of your camera in weird angles. But for the moon stuff, you don't need a ball head. Just a standard tripod that lets you go up and down and side to side is all you need. And some of the popular brands for tripods that are good solid tripods, Monfrado, Velbon, Slick, any one of those brands are fine because you want a solid tripod. You don't want to spend a boatload on a tripod because a DSLR is not a heavy thing. But if a wind comes up or that kind of thing, you want to have it as stable as possible so you don't ruin your shots. And as well, you want to have plenty of power supply. So if you just have a single battery, get a second one. Make sure you charge them up because if you're going to do this in the summertime, the batteries will last quite long. But you get out there in the freezing cold and minus 10 degrees and those kind of temperatures, it's pretty hard on your battery. So you're going to want a second battery just to make sure you've got a backup. Or what I like to do is use what you see in the front there, and that's called a battery grip, where you can actually put two batteries in there and put that in, and that I don't know if you can see my mouse there or not, but that piece right there will actually push right up into the camera where the battery would normally go. So it'll make the body of your camera a little bulkier, but it'll give you twice the battery life. And of course, you're going to want remote shutter releases if you can. And a lot of cameras today are wide. So that simply means that there's a system in it that you can actually create between your cell phone and your camera. And most of these cameras today, you can actually operate with your cell phone remotely, which is nice. But if you don't have the capability, you can buy an intervalometer like the wired one you see on the left, or a wireless one you see on the right. And all that is just basically it's a fancy shutter release. The intervalometer part is if you're going to take timed images, say time lapses and things like that, you want to program your camera. But for the moon talk, all you need is something that you can push the button and take the picture. If you don't have these and you don't want, and you're just not able to get one right away, then use the timer on your camera. You have a self timer, the same thing you'd use to jump into a picture with misses. Press the button, run back, and it goes deet, 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 click. You do the same thing, because if you use that when you take the shot, all the camera shake has stopped, and by the time that takes the picture, you'll have a nice stable image. And very importantly, memory. I keep forgetting this. Sorry, I had to say that.
Oh,
Oh,
that went right over the head there for a second, but I got it, I think, after again. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry you did get it, I guess, but oh well.
there you go. Anyway, memory is so important. Should always carry a couple of memory cards for a couple of reasons. Number one, chances are you might have a card that might be, 3/4 full of family stuff and daytime stuff, and you throw that into your camera and you take 2 pictures, and all of a sudden, card full. Now, you're not going to want to ruin your family vacation for this, unless you're what's his name there on anyway, it doesn't matter. He likes ruining his wedding pictures for football games, but
Oh.
anyway, so that could happen to you, or you could have a card failure. And if you have a card failure, it's always good to have a second card, because chances are, wherever you are, unless it's in your backyard, it's going to ruin your shot, because when the moon comes up and gets into position for you, you've got probably 20 minutes tops from when it breaks the horizon to it gets to a point where it's not so interesting anymore. So make sure you bring memory cards. And when you do buy a memory card, memory is so inexpensive today, try to get a card that's got, 128 gig on it. Then you can shoot all day long with it, and you still got lots to shoot all night long too. Because the big thing with memory is, when you shoot with this kind of what we're talking about here, we always recommend you shoot in RAW instead of JPEG. And the reason for that is because with RAW, there's no compression, there's nothing done to the image. So when you put that into your software, if you're going to do that to manipulate the picture, you've got total control over how you want everything to look in that photograph. But the downside of that is RAW files are huge, and it takes a lot of memory. So again, memory's cheap. Just make sure you get lots of it. And whoops. Okay, and the next thing, of course, are lenses. And there's a variety of lenses on the market. Chances are, when you bought your camera, if you have one, you would have had a kit lens that came with it. Most commonly, I think the range usually goes from 18 to 55 millimeters, which will be fine for wide angle stuff, which will be fine for that moon coming up over the horizon, all of that sort of stuff. But quite wide angle, because even 50 millimeters is not that long a focal length. It's good for a nice portrait of someone up close. The moon's going to appear relatively small in a 50 millimeter lens.
I'm sorry,
So
Paul.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just for a second. Are you showing a slide on lenses right now, or because I still have a slide on memory cards up right now? But
Oh. Sorry, let me just see if I can make that happen again.
there. Oh, one more.
Okay,
There we go. There. We're there.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
Sorry about that. See, I forgot. I gotta get some more memory. All right, so back to the lenses. So with the lenses, there's quite a variety. So what you're looking at there are a wide angle, which is that Samyang one, the one with the yellow background on it, and that's a manual lens. That's one I use all the time, and that is a prime lens. So that's one focal length. That's 14 millimeters. That's it. But it's an extremely great wide angle lens if you're doing something that's wide, very, very wide angles that you want to get. Maybe you're doing Rockies, maybe you're doing a wide city shot, whatever it is. That's great for that. The one beside it is an 85 millimeter lens, which is just a little longer than your kit lens, but it'll do a relatively good wide angle. And I'm just getting into a closer up of a moon, not much, but a little closer. The next one you see down there in the bottom to the left is a 200 millimeter telephoto. That goes 70 to 200. That's a nice lens to have for moonshots. And of course, the one beside it goes right up to 600 millimeters. That's great for wide, well, not so much wide angle, but it's certainly good for bringing the moon in nice and close. So you have to really decide, if I want a variety of things. If it was me choosing a lens like this, I would probably get a zoom, say a 70 to 200. Then you've got pretty much everything covered, without spending a boatload of money, and you can use the lens for multiple things. Let me just show you here on focal length what I'm talking about. So this is the moon. This is a full moon. shot with a camera with a 100mm lens. So you can see the blue square is basically the frame of the camera that took that picture. And they used a 100mm lens. So you can see how small that moon is. All by itself, it's really not impressive. But if I had that same picture, or that I showed you earlier, the one that I shot over Bloomfield, the size of that moon there would be absolutely great. And on the other hand, once you've got that picture taken, if you want to crop it in other words, when you're using your software and basically making that portion of the picture bigger, you're going to cut out a lot of what's around it, but you can bring it closer. The moon of that size has enough resolution that as you bring it in, if you're looking for some of that surface detail on the moon, you can get it. 200mm lens, well, now we're talking. So you can see how much larger the moon is, how much more dramatic that could be, and how much more detail and resolution you can get should you decide to crop it up. And again, the rest speaks for itself, 400mm and 800mm. So when you're looking at these lenses, if you're buying just a prime, kind of think about, okay, if I'm going to buy this lens for doing astronomy, but I want moon to be a big part of it, I want to make sure that I've got an adequate size moon in my image so that I've got something I can work with, whether it be just lunar or whether it be lunar with landscape. How are we doing for time?
I think we're good. We're at about 40 minutes right now. So.
No, what's the time though right now?
Oh, we're at 8:49.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm not going to go too much further on this. We're going to take a break here just after a slide or two. I'm not going to get into chip sizes and that stuff. I'm just going to scack through this. I'm going to scack through that. I'm just going to go through 3 more slides. Okay. So, so here is a harvest moon that was at McLaren's Beach in St. John. This was taken with a 200mm telephoto lens, because this was like on one part of the bay, and I'm looking way across the other way over. I think that's at Redhead, or where is that, Chris?
It's East St. John.
East St. John. Okay. Oh yeah, because that's Canaport over there.
Canaport, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, so that's the kind of scene that you can do with a 200mm lens. So, if I wanted to shoot that, and I don't think I was at 200mm. I was probably about 150 or something. So I still have more headroom to bring that in closer if I wanted to. Now, if I wanted to do, a shot like this, well, then I'd want a pretty heavy-duty lens. I'd want something that's going to get me up there. 300mm, I can take this. This would be a crop shot, and that is what they call Earthshine. So, of course, the sun is lighting that white side of the phase of that crescent, and the Earth is lighting the backside of the detail of the moon. And those are really, really relevant during early moon phases. But in order to be able to get that with that kind of detail, you want to zoom in nice. So you'd need to have a relatively powerful lens for something like that. So again, 300mm, you can do that. You could probably do it with a 200 and then crop it in, and you'd probably have a relatively good result. And a 500mm lens, this is cropped as well, but this is actually a moon set. This moon is actually setting in the west, in amongst some trees, and that shot is probably 3 miles, 3.5, 4 miles from my place. And but I was able to zoom in, get the shot, bring it in the house, and actually crop it in, and still have some detail. And again, the reason why I go for the deep sets and the early rises is so that you can get the refracted light to give you those gorgeous oranges and different colors you get from the moon. I think I'm going to stop it there, and then we'll do some other segments.
Okay.
So. And then we'll get back to it if we have some more time tonight.
Okay, so I've got another question here for you, Paul, from Dino Papa.
Dino's,
yep, sure. Okay.
I got to make sure I'm stopping. I'm back. Okay.
There you are. Hey, welcome back. I knew you were there all along.
All right.
Dino's asking, what is an optimal shutter speed so you don't get blur from the movement of the moon?
Good question. Very good question. It depends on the phase of the moon, first of all. And it depends if there's clouds in the sky or not. So if you're going to take a picture of a moon, and some people like to take, let's say you want to take a picture of the moon that's got the ring around it, we call the storm warning moon, if you will. So it has a moon halo. So if you're going to take a shot like that, you're going to want to short a very, very short, like 1/30th of a second, whatever. What you need to do is to set your camera up, take a picture, and start at say 1/30th. I would start there and set. You're going to have to bring your ISO up. And this is the advantage of some of this other stuff we're going to cover later about the type of lenses that you get. Because, and again, I'm going to go off topic just a second. I'll get right back to that question, but this is related to that question. So if you take and use, say, a lens that's say f1.8, it's got an awful lot of light coming in right away. So you can actually slow stuff down like crazy and still have lots of light, right? So that means that your ISO is going to be turned down, because ISO is not your friend when you're shooting shots like this, because you're going to get a lot of noise if you're shooting anything that's got a lot of dark stuff and you're shooting any slow stuff. So the quicker that you can speed up your shutter speed, the darker things are going to be around it if it's traffic. And if it's clouds that are coming over it, you're not going to get the clouds blurring in front of it. Because if you get a shot like that, let's say you start at the 1/30th, let's say, for example, and you look at your picture and the clouds are blurred, then you want to make it even faster and go faster again and keep going, so that when you take your shot, the clouds look like they're still. And that's also still going to give you lots of moon, because the moon's bright. Don't worry about brightness on the moon. And just be concerned about your outer surroundings. And if you find that you got a good bright core, but you still don't have bright enough around the edge, then try bringing your ISO up, and that'll open that up a little bit. The other thing you can do is, again, depending on how much you want to get into this, is you can actually do two shots. You can take one shot for the core of the moon with all its detail, because you're going to have to really close things down, because that's really, really bright. You don't want to have a whitewashed moon. And then as soon as you've done that, you're going to go the opposite, and you're going to open things up and take that second shot, get all the goodness that's around it that you want. And then in Photoshop, you can just blend the two images. So I hope that answers the question to a degree. I know it's a little vague, but quick shutter speeds. And those are a couple of things to look for. If there are things in the skies, keep an eye on things that are in motion. Can you make those stop?
Okay. Another question here was, Denise asked, I find my back gets sore standing behind a tripod for long periods of time. Do you recommend any type of chair? So I did kind of recommend an astronomer's chair, but is there anything else that you would recommend?
Well, the thing about having the remote shutter is, once you've got your camera set up, the moon moves relatively quickly, but if you're doing wide angle stuff, you got lots of time. So what I would do is just bring a comfortable fold-out chair that you could be comfortable in, because that's something that's portable. You can throw it in the back seat of the car. It's nice and light if you got to walk a little bit to get to a specific spot. And if you have a remote shutter, you can operate with a remote shutter and just go ahead and do that right from your chair. If your camera has the Wi-Fi capability like mine does, you can go right back in your car and just do everything from your phone once you get your camera set up and in place. You can be comfortable there. If you don't have any of those things, and you got to go ahead and use your self-timer and do the 2-second thing, then again, those little comfortable fold-up chairs are absolutely wonderful, because you can put them right beside the tripod, go ahead and press your button, and you can have a 10-second delay on it, have yourself a seat. It'll go beep, 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 take your picture, and then when you're ready to get up and have a look at it, just go ahead and have a look at it. Because again, for the most part, you're going to have lots of time. If you're shooting something that you're really zooming in on, the moon's going to move much quicker. So so you will be standing a little bit more than what Chris mentioned. An observer's chair is something that's very, very nice, because it's not really that cumbersome. You can buy them. They fold down. They're quite light, but they've got seat adjustments on them, so you can always be comfortable in that chair. And it's kind of like almost like a musician's chair, like a guitar player's chair, but a little bit more flexible than that. So that's what I'd recommend for you.
That sounds great. And I did notice you only said 5 beeps, but you were talking about 10 seconds. So is it 1 beep for every 2 seconds, or like beep, 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 beep? Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I get it's got a kind of a musical
and the beep
pattern,
goes on?
right?
Yeah.
Click.
Okay, we'll leave it there.
All right.
We're really not off topic.
All right. Anyway, sorry, but yeah, that's the answer to that question. I hope it helps.
I'm sure it did. Thanks, Paul. Okay. Excellent talk, and we're going to probably continue part of that either a little bit later right tonight, or we'll see how we go with our next little segment. I'm going to give Paul a break for a minute and have a look at your photos of submissions. So give me a second. I'm going to get those set up for us. And I think they're in here. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. And this one again. And off we go into Wonderland. But
Olivia.
okay. Here's our first photo. So Robert Gadet has sent us in a number of pictures tonight. Thank you, Robert. These are taken with this Canon T7i. Some of them are taken with his Meade LX 200 8-inch telescope, and some were just night sky shot on a tripod. So this one he's got is a Trifid Nebula, and it's ISO 6400 single 46-second exposure, one photo.
Yeah.
Nice capture.
Very nice.
He's also sending this one called the Iris Nebula. It's 21-minute exposures stacked in deep sky stacker, ISO 6400. That's kind of a
Nice.
different photo, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the iris is just dark cloud and reflection.
Okay.
So it's very blue. It's very nice.
Very nice. I've got the Swan Nebula here, ISO 6400 single 1-minute exposure. Well, I assume these are through his telescope. I think they'd have to be. Not sure what the streak is there, but might be my monitor.
That looks like a satellite going through.
Satellite going through. Okay. Starlinks.
That's the Swan.
That's a Swan. Yeah, M17. Nice.
Yeah, nice job.
He's also sent us Messier 22, this is what's called a globular cluster. So Messier 22 is down in Sagittarius, just above the teapot, the lid of the teapot to the left-hand side a bit, upper left. You'll find this nice, beautiful globular cluster. Of course, globular clusters are large collections of stars, anywhere from between 300,000 and 500,000 stars in a ball, all bound together by gravity. Some of the oldest stars in the galaxy exist in these. When I see a photo like this, I like to picture myself on a planet in the middle of that big swarm there somewhere, going around one of these stars, and wonder what my sky would look like, you know?
It would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Mm.
Be too bright for us to take with our eyes, wouldn't it?
I think so. It would be, I don't know if it'd be daytime all the time, or your skies would be some plentiful at night for sure. I mean, if you could avoid all the radiation, all those other little things that might bother you, you know. Anyway, here's another one he's got from the Milky Way in Sagittarius. Beautiful.
Trudy's?
This is still Robert.
No, is that from Trudy's place, I wonder?
It might, yeah, it looks like it is actually. He's got the Milky Way in Sagittarius ISO 3200 single 5.4 second exposure, 50 millimeter camera lens at f1.8.
There you go.
Lots of detail there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very nice.
So
Very
much in
nice.
that area of the sky, right?
Mm.
Here's a shot of Comet Neowise. Back to the LX200, he says. ISO 1600, single 45-second exposure with the T7i. Nice work.
Oh, nice.
That was
I guess was from Back Bay.
Oh, Back Bay, was it? Okay. Oh, he's commenting here. Good.
Yeah.
Bernard's E.
Oh, look at that.
Canon T7i and a tripod. It's ISO.
Is that one of the clouds?
I think it is, yeah. Here in there, right in here.
Is that the large or small Magellan or Sagittarian cloud?
Up here, I think that's a small. I think that one. I'm not quite sure.
That's nice.
It's still nice. It's a nice shot though. Yeah. Bernard Z Canon T7i and tripod ISO 6400 single 9-second exposure f1.8. So look at the lens difference. With an f1.8, how much light you can gather.
It's a big difference for sure.
Here he's got the dumbbell.
Yes.
ISO 6400 25-second exposure, and back to the LX200. He says with the T7i.
Nice.
Got a few more here. Oh, nice capture of the Lagoon. The Lagoon Nebula, ISO 6400, 1-minute exposure with the T7i and LX200. All this area, all these ones here are down in the area of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a treasure trove objects to look at. Right, Paul? Almost like
Oh,
Cygnus. Almost as good as Cygnus, but not
almost
quite.
as good as Cygnus. If we were a little further south, it would be my Cygnus.
Yeah, I know. That's the only issue, yeah. And he's got the coat hanger here. So here it is here.
Coat hanger up to top right.
Top
Top
right?
right.
Oh, here it is, sir. Yeah, there it is.
Yep.
That's right. Hang on, I'll zoom in a little bit. There we are. So if we can see an upside down coat hanger sitting here, there's the hook and there's the part that supports my shirts. I think. Yeah, I don't know. I don't put things on coat hangers. I just kind of throw them in the corner. Someone else does that for me. Anyway, that's an upside down coat hanger. But that is the coat hanger cluster.
Nice.
He's also got it Sagitta, the coat hanger cluster and Sagitta, just a T7i and tripod, ISO 6400, 5.4 second single exposure, f1.8, 50 millimeter camera lens. All that were taken with just a T7i and lens were with the nifty 50, he calls it. All the telescope pics were in Alt-Az mode. So great stuff, Robert.
Yes.
Keep up the good work, buddy.
Very good.
And I want to get back out of this one. I think I can scroll. Yeah, I can. Here's a few shots from Andrew Sabin.
Oh, nice. Nice moon.
Sent us in a nice shot of the moon.
Yes.
He says, hello, we were able to take a couple of more pictures of the moon this week. They were both taken on August the 27th at 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. in my driveway on the west side with a Nikon 3100. Beautiful shot.
Yes, it is.
And there's another one showing more perspective.
Yes.
Thanks, Andrew.
Those day moons are nice, eh?
Oh, they are beautiful. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I like the night moon too. I like the crescent moon too. And the gibbous moon's a favorite. Oh, look at that moon. Yeah. Doesn't matter what kind of the moon it is in. Yeah. Let's go over to a few shots from Trudy. Trudy sent these ones in. Trudy Ullman. Look at this one, huh?
Nice.
Taken in Beulah over the St. John River, she says.
That's beautiful.
Awesome. And
so that's, I'm assuming that's looking east. That's coming up. What a beautiful eastern view.
Yeah.
Is that Jupiter and Saturn? I'm assuming.
That's Jupiter. Jupiter there for. I think that's Sagittarius. She's got sitting here beside the moon.
Oh, okay.
Pretty sure. I'm not sure exactly what night these were taken. Maybe just the other night. Let's take a look.
Because if it was over Sagittarius, that would be due south.
That would be south, yeah.
Yeah.
There's another shot she sent in. I'm trying to figure out. My monitor isn't the very best, so I'm not getting a very good view of it here with me, but. Maybe she'll comment here for me.
Yeah.
There's another one.
Look at that beautiful reflection on the water.
Yeah, there's the moon in Sagittarius.
Yeah.
All in the shot. So Sagittarius, see how this looks like a teapot, folks, right? So it's really the archer. He's got his bow here, and this is his arrow shooting it into the scorpion, and that's his arm pulled back. I'm pulling back on the bow, but a lot of people see it as a teapot. So here's the lid of the teapot, these three, and then there's the handle, and here's the body of the teapot, and over here's the spout, these three.
Yeah. So that moon is that's pretty much dead south.
Yeah, I think so.
So this time of year, the moon phase, the moons are actually slow. They stay quite low.
Yeah. You're right. The ecliptic is low. That was shot at 2311, so it's probably more southwest at that point in time. But because 11 o'clock. Yeah.
Beautiful shot.
They're really nice.
Yeah.
And there's another one. Yeah, through the
trees.
I
love those shots.
Yeah. Always, if you got something like you say, Paul, something in the foreground or something to offset the shot, right? To add some texture to it, I'll call it. But really nice.
It just makes you want to take the tree branches and just move them sideways and just be awed by the sky, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Then fall out of the tree and hurt yourself.
That's me on the ground looking up. I've already fallen.
Yeah. I fall and I can't get up. Yeah, that's after a few drinks for me.
Oh, look at that.
And this one's from Mike Powell. Mike, but look
Nice,
at
Mike.
we thought Mike
Wow.
wasn't with us tonight, but he added our topic about farts, and then he added this one, sending a couple of nice shots too. So
Well, that one doesn't stink.
not at all, not at all. No. Mike Powell
That's
sent us his
fantastic.
shot of the Triangulum Galaxy, and the Triangulum Galaxy is the third largest member of our local group of galaxies, behind the Milky Way and the Andromeda Galaxy.
Fantastic.
And it's one of the most distant objects that you can view with your naked eye. One of the
Nice
most
core.
distant. Isn't
Nice
that nice?
core.
Yeah,
Oh man, great job.
great job. And here's this Eagle
Oh,
Nebula.
Eagle
Ooh,
M60.
look at that. Yeah, I love
Good.
that. The
Just
pillars of creation,
yes, indeed.
right in the middle there. The pillars of
So, if
creation.
for those who don't know what that is, Chris, you want to tell them?
Well, the Eagle Nebula is a star-forming nebula with a young open star cluster that's located in Serpens, the constellation Serpens. The nebula is best known for the Pillars of Creation region, and it lies at 7,000 light years away. So those are large clouds of dust and gas that are forming new stars right now.
Hmm.
But you go ahead, Paul. You got more to add.
Well, I was just going to say that is probably Hubble telescope's most famous image after he got his eyes fixed,
Mm,
and they got the shot of the pillars, and it's one of the most iconic space images you'll ever see. And a lot of astrophotographers spend a lot of years trying to perfect that, and
yeah,
Mike got them, almost right away. It's fantastic.
yeah, great shot. Yeah, that
Yep.
is a. I mean, and also, well, they believe that this area could also be. What am I trying to say? It may not be there right now, but it's because the signs of what they've studied about this pillars of creation area over the last number of years have led them to believe that this dust cloud is already dissipated. But because it's 7,000 light years away,
It happened 7,000 light years ago with what we're
yeah,
seeing.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. So that may not even be there at this time. So that's the whole relationship too between space and time, right? So
Yeah, absolutely.
great shots, Mike.
Yes.
And we thought Mike wasn't going to be with us tonight. Look at that.
He is with us always.
He was always with us, yeah. Okay, so before I close out too much, I'll just do this, and I'll go back to the stop sharing and bring us back.
All right.
There.
Wonderful photos this week.
Great photos, yeah. Awesome. And if you want to send your photos in, please send them in to Sunday Night Astronomy Show at gmail.com, and we love to put your photos up. We really enjoy celebrating what you're accomplishing out there and getting a chance to share them with everybody else. So Paul, you've got a Rosanna's Fun Facts segment to go.
Yeah. And
Um,
ironically enough, I have to ask you if you're ready.
oh, you do, and I'm not. So how about you fill in time here for a second? Can you sing us a song
I
while
can.
I try to
What do you
find
want to say?
my notes? Uh,
Doodah, doodah.
there we go.
That's what I know. That's how I do the Elvis thing on everything, right? Elvis never really sang word, but he sounded like he did, right?
He
Hey,
did. He did actually, didn't he?
yeah, he did. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just
I'm
kidding.
gonna get that ready.
We had our neighbor's little fellow over for the day the other day,
Oh yeah.
and he wanted to watch the Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner.
Oh, who didn't? Who wouldn't?
Yeah, I had a ball because I haven't seen him in years, and they didn't know. Oh, here's some trivia for you while you're doing that. Did you know that of course there is a real bird called a roadrunner, and that real bird actually runs slower than a real coyote?
What?
Yep, a real coyote can run faster than a real roadrunner. But of course, for the purpose of the cartoon, they made the Roadrunner look like he could run 648 miles an hour. That's the speed that you envision him running on the cartoon. But in actual fact, they run between 18 and 25 miles an hour top speed.
Oh, really? Okay. Well.
You can see I'm retired with nothing to do. I'm researching the Roadrunner.
Oh, hang on. Get my
Oh
sound turned
my.
down. I got my sound turned up. Hey, I think we're ready. Hey, maybe we are. Oh,
Okay, let me share my
I
screen.
was so excited. I moved ahead. Just a sec. Okay.
Am I ready to share my screen?
I think we're ready.
Okay, just one
Let's
sec.
try it.
Oh.
Let's hope Peter's tuned in.
you're going to get my toot, 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 toot,
Oh
toot,
yeah, there
maybe.
we are.
Okay, and then
You have to share your screen. There we go. There we go.
I'm ready.
And we're ready for
Rosanna's Fun Fact.
Yay!
wow. You know
We
something?
did it
Everything's kind of working tonight. I don't know why, but it is.
without a technical glitch. That's fantastic.
It's only taken
We're
us
on a roll.
it's almost taken us a year to get here, but
I
wow,
know.
it feels so
There.
good.
All right. Well, this week on Rosanna's Fun Fact, she's actually got a pretty interesting fun fact. I really like this one. So let me just talk about what she says here in first. So it says, in this upside down world of COVID rules, some rules would seem to contradict other rules, causing mental confusion. We could mention the possibility that our world might already be upside down. According to astronomers, there is no up or down in space. The world map, as always drawn and studied in school, shows North America as the up, simply due to the historically superiority of the North. Others say that North became up due to the exploration with magnetic compasses. The accepted result is probably a combination of both. So many early maps before the use of the compass placed east at the top because the sun rises in the east, and this was the most consistent directional marker. Many settlers drew their maps from the west to east because it's the way that they traveled. This is Ptolemy's view of the world back in those days. If you find this map or picturing of the world upside down awkward, think about this. Back in 129 BCE, Hipparchus noticed that the stars had shifted from the maps of earlier Babylonian times. He realized this meant that stars hadn't moved, but the observing platform had. Earth had shifted. Such a motion is called precession and consists of a cyclic wobbling of the orientation of the Earth's axis of rotation with a period of 25,772 years. Precession was the third discovered motion of the Earth after the far more obvious daily rotation and annual revolution. Now, whoops, I pressed the button too early. There we go. So precession is caused by the gravitational influences of the sun and the moon acting on Earth's equatorial bulge. The planets exert some influence as well, but to a much lesser extent. So what does the precession of the equinoxes mean to us? It means that if the Gregorian calendar remains consistent in 13,000 years, the seasons will be reversed. Thus, the seasonal constellations as we know them will also change. In 13,000 years, Orion will be low in the south in the summer. Now, let me show you this. So there is not Orion. There it is. This is off of Stellarium. Thank you, Kurt. This is off of Stellarium, and this is in the year 14,020. So you can see now, this is the south. Orion barely breaks the southern hemisphere at this period of time, some 20 or 13,000 years from us. So that's pretty amazing when you think about that. And that's also a summer constellation instead of a winter one when that happens. So to picture your new sky map for the years 14,020, imagine taking Vega, and I'll go back one. So here's Vega up here, right? Imagine taking Vega, placing it where Polaris is, a change of about 47 degrees. With Orion being the opposite of Vega, his belt will not even clear our horizon then. So his belt's gone from us. And who knows if Betelgeuse will even still be in his shoulder if it hasn't exploded since then. So there's this theory. So here's that picture of Stellarium or of Orion again, right here. What I found really interesting, and I'm just going to show you my Stellarium if I can. So here's that same thing we were looking at. There's Betelgeuse and Orion setting in the south, which is so odd to see. But here's what's even stranger. So you can see that green line. That green line is the meridian. And I'm going to spin us all the way over to the other end of that green line, which is the North Pole. And look who's at the North Pole.
Oh,
Vega.
Cygnus. Oh. Not again.
It's Cygnus. Chris, I did this
Not
because I
again.
wanted you to see this. Cygnus is circumpolar.
Oh no!
It never
Oh
goes
no! Oh
away.
no!
So there you are, in your face in the year 14,020. So
Yeah.
thank you to Chris and Stellar for the pictures and keep the fun facts going. So that is this week's. That is this week's.
Best fun fact.
Thank you so much,
Many
Rosanna.
thanks.
That was
Thank.
so cool. I just thought that was just absolutely amazing to actually see that.
And our
So,
continuous thanks to Peter for those little clips for us.
oh, absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely. We stop sharing it. There we go. Thank you, Rosanna.
Yes, thank you, Rosanna. Always a pleasure to have those on our show.
I love that one.
Yep. Yeah. Cygnus circumpolar. Oh no.
There you go. Yeah, hey,
just,
Mike.
Yeah,
we
that
get
just made my night.
Now.
Robert, stop that. A circumpolar Cygnus would be awesome, he says. Oh no. But never mind. All right.
So it's 9:19. So I'll do a second segment next week on the
Okay.
camera thing because we don't really have enough time to get back into that.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, maybe I'll do a very, very quick what's up this week if I can get it to work, like we talked about here, Paul.
Okay.
Best binoculars targets. Okay. So I'm going to try. I'm trying something new here, but we'll start from the first slide. And I want to switch presenter. Can I do that? I don't know how to do that, but it doesn't matter. We can see what the next slide's going to be. That's fine. Oh, it won't let me drag it over. Okay. I'm just learning how to use this new program, but it's not actually PowerPoint, something else. But anyway, what's up this week with best binocular targets? And I try to stay on the best binocular targets topic because they are. Oh, am I even sharing my screen now? Just a second.
Not yet. No,
Not
it's
yet.
just still.
Okay, hang on.
Oh, there it is. What's up this week?
Oh.
Is that it?
It was. Share screen.
You're back to
There.
what's up this week with the best binocular targets.
Hang on. Share your screen again. Now am I
There
on?
you go. Here it is.
Okay.
It's gonna make it bigger.
Yeah, I'm gonna go do
It's the
slideshow.
There you go. From
beginning.
current slide.
Yeah. See, this is a brand new program. Start from first slide. Hey, here we go. Now I think I'm good.
There you are.
See, so it says a restart at the bottom here, so we'll go through this fairly quickly. What's up this week with best binocular targets? Going to try to stay on that every time that I run this for a little while yet. So looking southeast tonight at 9 p.m., we still have beautiful Jupiter and Saturn getting closer together over the next number of weeks. And we will see that happen as we lead up to our date on December the 21st, which is the winter solstice, when they're both going to appear almost in the same spot in our sky. Of course, they're sitting right beside beautiful Sagittarius. Go up above the Sagittarius a little bit to the center of the Milky Way area. Pan your binoculars all up through that area, right over the top of your head through Cygnus and down to the other horizon, and you'll love the view with just binoculars. Of course, our waxing gibbous moon sitting here right now too, so another excellent target for binoculars. And of course, when we're looking at Jupiter, we've got a chance to see 4 little moons that Galileo discovered back in 1610. So get your binoculars out and take a look at those. They change positions every night. Mark them down over one night. Go out the next night, take a look and see where they are. Get the kids to do it, and it's a great little activity for them to find our little mini solar system. Let's go back over next one to our full corn moon that arrives on Wednesday, September the 2nd, at exactly 2:22 a.m. And we'll be able to see that rising. The next night is still going to appear fairly close to that same. Can I exchange here? I guess I can I? Hang on. Look at that. I did. Hey, it worked.
Hey, all right.
Hey, I'm learning something as we go. That's what I wanted to do. There, the full corn moon rise on Wednesday, September the 2nd, at exactly 2:22 a.m. But we'll be able to see it the night before and the night after. It'll still appear fairly close to full, so you're really not going to be able to tell much of a difference with your naked eye for sure. And it's still beautiful to watch. As Paul says, as the sun sets, we turn around the other way and watch the moon rise just a few minutes later. So always a pleasure to watch that.
Oh, yeah.
We've got on September the 5th. This is the hoax that was going, well, I'll just say maybe not the true facts that were going around just recently about Mars being as big as the moon. Well, here we are. This is our waning gibbous moon on the 5th, which would be next Saturday night. So looking east Saturday night at 10 p.m. local time, here's Mars and our moon that are less than 1 degree apart, which means you can hold out your pinky finger and cover the two of them with your pinky finger,
Wow.
which is pretty close. But coming up on the winter solstice, you can cover them with 1/10 of your pinky finger, Jupiter and Saturn together. So that's going to even. So actually, you might be able to get, you will be able to get the two of these in the same field of view of binoculars too, the moon and Mars, because a standard view of binoculars is usually 5 degrees, right? So they'll easily fit in a view of a set of binoculars. Sorry, the Mars will not appear as big as the moon. Just not going to happen. If Mars ever appears as big as the moon, you want to run the other way as fast as you can, because
You know where
we're
to
in
go.
trouble. You're going to start seeing mountains rise and oceans rise and dogs and cats falling from the sky and all kinds of things happening. On from that, of course, we still have in our south or eastern sky rising just after 9:30 or 10 o'clock now. We've got this beautiful square of Pegasus up in our sky. Easy to pick out the square of Pegasus. Just look for 4 stars quite far apart, making up this large square. If we count out 1 star and 2 stars and then up 2 stars and right there to the right of it, you're going to find the beautiful Andromeda galaxy sitting there. Always a nice target in binoculars. Actually, probably best in binoculars, better than it is in any telescope really, because you need binoculars to get the whole thing in, and that's always a nice target. If you can't find Andromeda that way, find the W of Cassiopeia here, and the second B that makes up the W, that arrow points straight down to Andromeda. So that's another easy way to find it. Also, if you're over here towards Cassiopeia, look below Cassiopeia, make a long triangle kind of out of the last 2 stars of the V. The first 2 stars of the V, bring them down, and that'll bring you into this area called the double cluster, which is 2 beautiful clusters of stars sitting here side by side. Just young stars, only about 100 million years old each, or just little babies, but beautiful in binoculars. And in telescope, you can pick out the cowboy. We can show you that sometime. Then again, if you're up till midnight, here already, look at what we got coming up, the Pleiades star cluster in Taurus, right? So Taurus rises right around midnight, and the Pleiades cluster is up before that. So that's what they call the 7 sisters. Most people can pick out 7 or 8 stars. I've seen people that have picked out 13 stars in that cluster, but it's a beautiful cluster of stars, an open cluster that is basically traveling through the Milky Way right now. This is an area full of nebulosity. Paul's taken a few beautiful photos of this area. It's clouds of dust and gas that are forming new stars in there. So this is a stellar nursery. This is where stars are being formed right now. If you come to the telescope anytime, we can show you stellar nurseries, and we can show you areas where stars are dying. So it's just the recycling of stardust. Awesome to see. And if you're not an evening person, you're more like a morning person, well, here you are looking east at 5 a.m. all week. So we've got Orion is up now at 5 a.m. Here's Venus in our sky as well. Brilliant, bright Venus, the 3rd brightest object in our sky, the Sun, the Moon, and then Venus. In the evening sky, Jupiter is fairly bright, but Jupiter is going to be outshone by Mars very shortly. Mars is going to be our brightest object in our evening sky. So that's going to be amazing. I mean, Mars is the size that it is, it's not very large compared to, you could fit 1,000 Earths in Jupiter. Mars is quite small, smaller than our Earth. But to be able to see it that bright, and it's going to be, I'm sure, like in Trudy's place in St. Martin's, that type of area. Did I say St. Martin's, Trudy's place? I think you did.
You did again.
in the suburbs of St. Martin's. Along the bay, at least, Mars could probably be reflecting off the water. So just like the moon. So that's amazing to see a planet reflect off the water. It's quite a thing to see. So all kinds of nice stuff happening over the next week or so. So keep your eyeballs pointed up. Get a pair of binoculars. They're fairly cheap. They give you the proper field of view. They're portable. They're lightweight, and they're a great little tool to bring along. And they're 2 telescopes joined together, so you've got lots of ability to gather lots of light and to see lots of these objects just with binoculars. So enjoy the summer sky while we have it, for sure. And that's all I get to say about that. Not there. So we'll try to get out of this somehow. There, I guess that way. There, we're back. Just before we close, I guess we want to make sure we have any comments left that are here.
Yeah, any comments, questions that we looked, or are we okay for all that for this week?
And Trudy says, or the St. John River, that was Mars reflecting on there in one of my photos. So already Mars is reflecting on the river. So
Oh, beautiful.
awesome. So that's gonna be great. Let's take a look at that's the YouTube comments. I just want to be sure on Facebook that there's nothing else that anybody wanted to join on with here. Any other comments? Let's see. Fun facts. Looks like we're all good. Mike is still on here posting conjunction. Like Cygnus. I thought he went to work tonight.
He's working on you.
Yeah, he sure is. Well, anyway, folks, I think that's going to be it for tonight. So join in next week for Paul's continuation of his talk on the DSLR photography. We did a nice talk, and thanks, Paul, very much for that. It was great, nice, detailed information. Don't forget, folks, these broadcasts are still up on the page. They're up on YouTube and up on Facebook. I leave them up there, so you can go back later and review them. If you see some comments in here that or parts in here that you wanted to go through Paul's slideshow, go back and have a look at that, and Paul will share more of the night sky with us next week. So I guess in closing tonight, we'd like to thank all of you again for your continued support. Remember, we do love getting your photos. Again, you can send them here to SundayNightAstronomyShow@gmail.com, and we will put them up on the broadcast happily. Also, please consider entering the current contest I have going on for a chance to win some great prizes. So I have a Shoot the Moon contest and the planets as well. If you take a photo of the moon and submit it to my page, you'll be entered in the contest. If you take a photo of a planet or two and send that in, you'll get into a second contest. So you have an opportunity here with Jupiter and Saturn and the moon right out in our evening sky, very easy to point out, and the idea is to get you outside and to look up, right? So the contest doesn't end until September the 10th, so we still got about 11 days, lots of time yet to submit your entries. I've got about 100 entries so far, so it's awesome to see that many entries in the contest. That's great. Remember, now it's any shot of the moon with any device and a capture of one of the planets to enter you in the second contest. And again, send your entries to my Facebook page, or you can send them here to SundayNightAstronomyShow@gmail.com. And I'm picking them up, a few of them up off that as well. We're also looking for suggestions as well for topics for future shows. So if you have anything you would like us to discuss on a future episode, please send your request to the same address, SundayNightAstronomyShow@gmail.com. And we'll do our best to make it happen. Of course, we want to keep you interested in this broadcast that we offer. So topics that you are interested in, we're going to present for you for sure. We also ask that if you enjoyed the content here tonight and you have joined us from YouTube, please consider subscribing and giving us a like on the channel. And please let your family and friends know that we are here every Sunday night. At the same time, to educate and entertain you on the night sky. There always has to be some entertainment.
I think we're entertaining ourselves.
Yeah, I think so too. So for now then, from Paul and I, and an absent but here in spirit, Mike. I thought he was absent, but he's not really.
He's with us.
He's with us, yeah. Stay safe, everybody. We wish you all clear skies, and we hope to see you again here next week at the same time. And remember, as we like to say, keep your scopes pointed up.
Pointed up.
Pointed up. Have a great week, everybody. Take care. Good night.